Welcome to MINDSHOCK. This is your host, Bruce McGuire. And we are taking a look at the Red Pill Showdown between the one and only Michael Knowles and Pearl Davis. This absolute train wreck, which we started in part 1, we will continue dissecting here in a logical fashion, with logic and reason at the forefront. Make sure you check out part 1. We are picking up right where we left off. We didn't really know what to expect, but, it was quite painful. I've never seen this level of goofery from Michael Knowles. And it's been astounding to watch and extremely painful. As always, if you find the MINDSHOCK podcast interesting and informative, you can donate to our PayPal. Just check the link in the description. Help support logic and reason in a world where it is quickly going extinct, as this analysis also demonstrates here from Michael Knowles. You can also become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Help support the chat that way. Make sure to subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you're still not getting them, like and comment on more videos. Like and share, Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Patreon. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunks of any kind, leave them in the comments section. So now that we kind of knew what to expect, I hope everybody's had a good recovery from part 1. A lot of time to recover from the goofery. And we will remain steadfast here in trying to dissect what exactly is going on in Michael Knowles' brain here, as he gets completely decimated by Pearl on some of the most basic points. It seems like he was struggling with basic definitions. He was flat out dishonest on multiple occasions. So let's continue to see what's going on here. And we will pick up right where we left off.
Again. That's my point. My point is they have if there was an abundance of wives in church, Michael, the men would be lining up to go.
But they do. The traditional churches.
Again, right where we left off, he's stacking multiple cherry-picking logical fallacies on top of each other. If we do end up implementing retroactively the logical analysis MINDSHOCK system, this would be a super fallacy because he's stacking 2 identical fallacies. So, and moving the goalpost, and no true Scotsman. This guy's stacking fallacies like crazy here. I'm surprised he actually posted this. Is anybody else surprised he actually posted this? Maybe he didn't understand what was going on, like, as it was happening. But after the fact, if he watched it, why would he make this public? Does anybody have any theories on that?
Leaving the church. Under the age of 35, young men, church participation is going down altogether, but young men are leaving the church.
But what about the traditional parishes?
The traditional parishes.
What about the 1% of the 1%? Who cares about the actual topic here about men in family court? How about Michael Knowles? Michael Knowles only cares about the 1% of the 1%.
Exploding, and it's all young people. The median age is like 22 in these parishes, and it's largely young men. So I totally grant you that a lot of modern religion has become quite effeminate and has driven men away.
Right, but I'm saying the Catholic Church is not exempt. It's absolutely not exempt. I've seen a lot of the same trends in the Catholic Church.
I guess my confusion is, though, you bring up these statistics, and so then we acknowledge the statistics that show that if one gets married, assuming that divorce is not a sacramental reality, that the likelihood of divorce goes way down. But then when we say that, you instantly say, well, actually now the statistics aren't worth anything because young people are different.
Wait, say that again? Sorry.
So
wait.
So he just completely strawmanned her.
We agree that the numbers for Catholics, Jews, Muslims, Orthodox Jews and Muslims, divorce numbers are way lower. And you acknowledge those statistics, but then you say,
No,
but
I don't. No, I don't.
You don't?
because-
Okay, all right.
No, because most of those include women over a certain age.
Right, you're saying the young people, it's totally
different
different.
time, Michael.
I mean, his intellectual dishonesty and bad faith argumentation here, that surprised me more than anything, because I don't know if I've ever seen him just go pure bad faith like this. I mean, this is a little bit surprising for me.
So what is,
And that's the same thing. Like the time my parents got married in is completely different.
so
than
what
the time
changed,
today.
other than now they have, so they meet on apps rather than at bars? And
Yeah, this is where we stopped. This is where we stopped part one. What's changed? Just the apps. It's not the decades and decades of feminism. It's not the decades and decades of increased corruption and societal decay and degeneracy. It's only the app. I mean, how did he even get that out with a straight face? Can anybody figure this out? I mean, just the level of goofery. Like, somebody brought up that he's just playing devil's advocate. Well, sure, you can play. There's a difference between playing devil's advocate logically and complete bad faith goofery. I mean, that's huge. That's a huge difference here.
that's the big change. That's why we can't believe the statistics anymore.
Well, the average marriage is 7 years now, Michael.
Right, but we've had divorce, expanded divorce for a long time. We've had no-fault divorce in America since 1969.
And also notice how he's attempting to frame this as if 1969 is ancient. As if that's not simply one generation. I mean, the level of goofery and dishonesty here. I mean, he's weaving quite a web here of fallacies and dishonesty.
So, you know, I acknowledge these are, by historical standards, relatively novel, but we're still talking like 50 years, right? More than 50 years.
And so what's his position? That nothing's changed over 50? Like, what exactly is his position? Because Pearl's saying stuff has changed in half a century. He's saying, oh, it's just swiping on the apps that's changed, nothing else? Not the complete decay of the education system? Not the complete march into degeneracy through all the media? Not the increase in corruption and inflation and again, all of the feminist propaganda and having women in the workforce, abandoning the children, you know, the feeding of the ego and narcissism through all media. I mean, what's his position here? I mean, I don't understand. Like, is he just spinning his wheels in some kind of, again, is this some kind of humiliation ritual where the Daily Wire sold their souls and now they have to engage in these humiliation ritual? Is this what this is? I mean, that would explain it, but I don't know that this is what it is. I'm just asking questions. I do not claim anything is true or untrue. This is, of course, MINDSHOCK, where the only thing we know for sure is that we don't know anything for sure.
I don't, you know, I just think a lot of times I hear you guys' advice to go to church and find a good woman. And I don't necessarily think it's bad advice in general. But again, I think that times have changed. And I think a lot of times you guys are a bit out of touch with what the average man is going through in this country.
Well, what do you mean by the average man?
What, seriously? The average? He doesn't know what average means? Well, what? I mean, he's completely gone full vegetable. I mean, he's full vegetable. He doesn't know what sexist means. He doesn't know what average means. How can he not know what average means? I mean, there are 4-year-olds who know what the average guy. Not the millionaire or the billionaire or even the homeless guy. The average guy. I mean, what? I mean, look at his face. He said that with a straight face. This has to be a humiliation ritual at this point, doesn't it? I mean, this is insane. I mean, the only other thing I could think of is if he realizes the severity of his obliteration here, and he's just trying to buy time while he's spinning his wheels. He's using that as a coping mechanism to try to come up with something to not sound dumb, so he just keeps asking these super basic questions. How does he think, if he watched this interview back, I mean, I want to see Michael Knowles give commentary. I mean, it would be nice if he gave commentary on this MINDSHOCK logical analysis, but at least just watching it back, I want to hear his thoughts. Like, what would he think of his own statement here? Yeah, Pinto Sack. He also didn't know. What do you mean by marriageable? Like, seriously? The level of terror on his face when Pearl asked him what percentage of women were marriageable, that was hilarious.
I guess. Men come in all shapes and sizes. So
wait, so he's saying men come in all shapes and sizes, so he doesn't know what the average means of those shapes and sizes. I mean, the level of goofery, I don't know. Does anybody think Michael Knowles can ever come back from this? I mean, he's supposedly this powerhouse intellectual like Ben Shapiro, or in the same realm of Shapiro. How is he ever going to recover here? Now, I didn't watch Shapiro vs. Destiny. The fact that he even had that mentally disabled goof, Destiny, on his show, I mean, that's a huge L in the first place. I don't know how it actually went. Maybe we can analyze that. I'm sure it's going to be painful. But can Knowles recover from this humiliation?
You know, acknowledging the fears of the modern...
Do you think men have valid fears in getting married? Do you think any of it's valid, or do you think they're making it up?
Yeah, I think that marriage entails risk.
Okay.
But there are ways to mitigate risk.
There are
and it's
ways,
a natural institution.
Correct. There are ways to.
This is so weird. I mean, this is so weird. It's like everything is... Jumping out of a plane has risks. You know, you can mitigate those risks. You can wear a parachute. But, you know, you should still jump out of the plane. But you can mitigate the risk. I mean, does he not realize how dumb he sounds? This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy.
Mitigate risk.
Yeah.
But... like, because I don't know, when you talk about this stuff, you guys are just, sorry, I don't mean to say you guys, but...
Please,
sorry.
generalize, it's okay.
But sometimes I'm just like, how do you not see where the men are coming from? You know, I've talked to men...
How does he not know what average means? How does Michael Knowles not know the definition of average? What?
That did the exact same thing. They took you guys' advice to a T.
What's our advice? Our advice is just
to marry. I've seen
married.
A lot of stuff from the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Okay, might be you, might be other guys that say get married young, right?
Yeah, it's good.
To sign up. Okay, but I'll see guys that take you guys' advice, and sometimes it ruins their life
because they get divorced.
And the divorce isn't like the woman ruins their reputation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, calls him an abuser. You know, and even calls him an abuser, says all these awful things. You know, he hasn't seen his kids in 2 years.
It's awful. Yeah.
And it's the saddest thing when you...
Wait, so he's acknowledging that it's awful. What's his argument here? What is his actual argument other than to jump in being contrarian?
A man that's going through a divorce.
So what's the alternative, though?
Wow, he went with This is embarrassing. I mean, the level of gopher here. I mean, obviously falsification is independent of replacement. I mean, this is just basic logic. Like, you know, we could be arguing about serial killers and then like, well, what's the alternative to having maybe we should just have serial killers, because sometimes they kill bad guys, right? Right? And there's ways to mitigate risk. I mean, you know, don't go out late at night, don't go out alone, maybe be armed, but we need those serial killers. What's the alternative? I mean, the level of gophery here. I mean, I gotta say, I really was, even after part one, where Knowles kind of revealed himself, now, I mean, he just dropped the floor out on his own gophery. What's the alternative? I mean, what? Like, what? How is that an argument?
I totally agree with you about the risk and the pitfalls of modern marriage.
Well, I
wait, since when? He just spent 20 minutes going full contrarian vegetable mode. Now he's saying he totally agrees? What? Wait, what? What is anybody following here?
I think that the laws need to change first, because regardless of what I say,
before people get married,
well, it's not about what I say, it's about what people will do. You guys have been preaching marriage for a decade. Men aren't signing up.
No,
men aren't. The rate of but the rate of getting married is going lower.
Right, but we also
men are getting married.
We redefined marriage at the federal levels.
Correct.
We've also had divorce for 50 years.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, he keeps going with these diversion, red herring, and non sequitur fallacy stats. Maybe I should have implemented the counter. I mean, I honestly thought this was going to be more discussion based. I didn't think we'd be seeing this level of goofery, because, I mean, Pearl's probably only hit 1 or 2 fallacies, and Knowles is probably working on 100 right now, not even counting the super fallacies. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah, correct. No, you're right. You're correct. But I'm saying laws need to change. Personally, if it was Pearl's world,
yes.
And I think you're probably going to have to find somewhere that meets in the middle for something to pass. But if it was Pearl's world, I wouldn't have alimony. I wouldn't have child support. I don't think you're entitled to it.
Yeah, I
don't.
I would.
Notice how Pearl is clearly citing her opinion, not necessarily what is right or wrong. Her personal opinion in a non-fallacious manner. I mean, she is schooling this goof. She is absolutely mopping the floor with Michael Knowles. Who would have thought this? Because again, no offense to Pearl, but she's not exactly this high-level intellectual. And she is absolutely decimating Michael Knowles on every level.
Certainly eliminate no-fault divorce, and I would greatly restrict divorce broadly. Yeah.
Okay, so here's a little bit. This is what I thought it would be: just normal conversation with some opinions, like what's going on right now. I could do this. We would do that. That's what I thought this whole thing was gonna be. And now we'll see where it continues going.
Yeah, but I think until you do that, you're going to have a hard time getting men to sign up. Until women get in shape.
Sure.
If 70% of women are overweight, that's not a great sell to men.
But okay, so
yeah, 80% of
who thinks he's gonna address that instead of dodging? Who thinks he's gonna address what Pearl just said? 70%. I don't think it's 70% obese. Well, we went over the stats on the first one. Maybe overweight and obese. They were scary stats. Don't get me wrong. I wish I hadn't looked them up. Magnet Mountain 33 says, he looks like he popped out the Christmas crack.
Women gain 20 pounds in the first 5 years of marriage.
Sure. Yeah, that's no good. They should stay fit.
You should stay fit.
Well, no, they should gain a lot of weight to have children. They should gain so much weight because they're having children.
But this is my...
Wait, what? 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 I mean, I guess that was some kind of an appeal to humor? Because obviously, not 100% of married couples have children. Actually, let's look up the stats here. Let's look up the stats. Wow. Actually, it's quite difficult to find exact stats here. So, of the couples that do end up having children, it's usually within the first 3 years. Or they already had at least one child or one on the way. I'm trying to find the stats here. Women get married 29 when they have their first child. But it doesn't say what percent of married couples... It also looks like the divorces are higher in childless marriages, 30%. Okay, wow. So it's not a lot. So Science Direct has a 2020 stat here. 30% of couples, both partners intended to have a child. Out of these, about 3/4 have a child. So is that 3/4 out of the 30%? Which would not be a lot. So 75% of 30%. That's a pretty small percentage. So clearly the majority are not having children. Okay, so there goes Michael Knowles' any shot at some kind of legitimate point there. I think he was just trying to be funny, as they should gain weight with pregnant. Obviously, Pearl stats has nothing to do with pregnancy weight, because the majority aren't even getting pregnant in the first place. I mean, this is really weird. Heracles says, man, I'm driving and it's killing me that I can't comment. I mean, this is going to go on for a while. I don't know how long you're driving, man, but I mean, we're just getting started here, so.
My point, you know, you're not going to appeal to men by shaming them into marriage.
I'm not shaming anyone. I'm just recommending.
But I've heard you guys say things like you're not like a real man if you don't get married. I've heard this.
What does he mean by natural institution? I would call that a false premise. I mean, you could say it's an appeal to nature, logical fallacy as well, but it's not even really that fallacy because in nature, most species are non-exclusive. They're not monogamous. So, you know, that I don't know how he keeps saying it's a natural institution. What's natural about it? I mean, having children might be natural. What's natural about a man-made institution of marriage? Like, he keeps repeating it as if it's legitimate without backing it up.
From the trad camp.
It's not exactly true because some men are called to religious life, some men are called to celibacy.
Right.
But the ones who are not are called to marriage. Not merely because it's sort of fun, though it's fun, but because it's a natural institution. Because men have certain ends, we have certain goals, right? So one of them would be we want to have children. This is not just a preference.
What does that have to do with marriage? I mean, as if men don't have children without being married? I mean, what? I mean, the level of goofery on display here, it seems like he doesn't know what the word natural means. I mean, he could say it's a pillar of his particular religion, he could say that, but he's kind of making these broad, fallacious claims.
You know, de gustibus non disputandum est. This is an aspect of the natural law.
Don't you think?
What natural law? What natural law? Like, I don't understand what he's talking about it. Is he talking about the religious scrolls written by men? I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird.
They should follow their purpose and God first.
That is part of their purpose.
Okay. No.
According to who?
No, I don't think so.
That's. What do you mean?
I don't think men's purpose is women. I think men's purpose
having children
is well, why? Why is that their purpose? Even the Apostle Paul said it's better to be alone, or not the Apostle Paul, but it's
Apostle
even in
Paul was celibate, yeah.
But
well, to mention.
Sorry,
the Apostle Paul is celibate. You know, but since you mentioned Christianity, it's important to remember.
She's schooling him even in his own religion. I mean, this is crazy. Well, I guess she's Catholic too, but again, she's not even purporting to be this powerhouse. She should have mentioned Proverbs 31:10-12. A good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. So, if a good woman is hard to find, according to the Bible, why would he refuse to answer the question on what percentage of women are marriageable? Because even in biblical times, again, Proverbs 31:10-12. If a good woman is that hard to find, I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy stuff. I mean, it's like he's terrified of saying anything even remotely critical of women as a class. That's what it seems like. Like he can't have any honest conversation about it. Even though he spends half his time dunking on, woke goof women at colleges. It's really weird. Really weird.
Remember, our Lord is the bridegroom. The church is the bride. So from the Christian perspective, marriage is understood to be a symbol of Christ's love for his church. Now, that's the supernatural
But that's not how it's practiced today.
In some quarters it is.
But you can say my special religion, here's the exception. It's not across the board.
No, my true religion
that
built our entire civilization. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm a Catholic
eccentric
too. I'm a Catholic too. But
well, I'm just describing to you the Catholic view of marriage, which is different than the view you're
But it's not the way that Catholics are doing it if we have 25% getting divorced.
I mean, look, I'm not even the most religious guy. I'm not religious at all, actually. I'm not the most well-versed in the Bible. But this goof This goof is so utterly clueless. I mean, let's go to Proverbs 21:9. Better to live on a corner of the roof than to share a house with a quarrelsome wife. I mean, is Knowles just this intellectually dishonest that he's kind of pretending that marriage is the greatest thing ever and the majority of women are marriageable and all this? Like, what is wrong with this goof? Like, he's never heard of Proverbs 21:19 either? I mean, there's another translations here. Better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. So, I mean, this is clear advice that, you know, being alone in the desert is better than with an unmarriageable woman, so to speak. So the level of gophery here on display, I mean, the sheer dishonesty even inside his cherry-picking fallacy. Because he's going to the 1% of the 1% in Orthodox Catholicism. He's ignoring all of the wisdom in the Bible here, specifically pertaining to being alone is better than a quarrelsome wife. I mean, does he not even read the Bible? What is wrong with Michael Knowles?
It's not a small number.
Well, it's not the way that 25% are doing it.
It's 30. It's really 35.
Yeah.
But I try to be conservative because I don't want to go back and forth. You know.
But to that point, Pearl, you know, Joe Biden calls himself a practicing Catholic. He supports killing infants in the womb up until the moment of birth as a matter of law. So, you know.
But we get into a tricky territory.
What does it have to do with any of her points? I mean, the Bible says what it says, does it not? I mean, how many times do we have to repeat Proverbs 21:19? How many times? Like, she should have thrown that in his face. I'm surprised she's came relatively prepped. I'm surprised she didn't have a couple of those up her sleeve.
Territory when you get to play God and decide who's a Catholic and who's not.
I'm not playing God, and I don't decide the magisterium.
Okay.
But he's just spamming no true Scotsman's fallacies.
The deposit of faith does, the magisterium does, sacred scripture does, the vicar of Christ does, and on this point, all are clear.
All are clear? All are clear on what? I mean, is Proverbs 21:19 clear? Better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. Not just in a comfortable house without an ill-tempered wife, but it's better to live in the desert. So out of different situations, even like you don't even obviously living comfortably in a luxurious house without a quarrelsome wife is nice. But if the two choices are luxury house with a quarrelsome wife and alone in the desert with nothing, according to the Bible, according to Proverbs 21:19, it's better to live in the desert. I mean, this is crazy. This is crazy. And this goof doesn't even know Proverbs 21:19. Not that this was even a religious argument in the first place, because Knowles claimed to not know that Pearl was Catholic. I actually didn't know that either, but he was the one preparing for this. He was having her on his show. So if he truly didn't know that she was Catholic, why is he even bringing up Catholicism? And if we're talking about average, is the average man in divorce or family court or not? Are they truly an Orthodox Catholic? Obviously not. So what does this have to do with anything anyway? I mean, Knowles is just spinning his wheels in gophery here.
And by the way, I'm not even talking about marriage necessarily from a supernatural perspective, though I certainly view it that way. But there's also the natural perspective, which is that there is, you say men should follow their purpose and should follow God. I of course agree. So how do we know our purpose?
Well, you could start by reading Proverbs 21:19. You could start there, Michael Knowles. You could start there.
Men have what? We have the scriptures, we have revelation, but we also have our conscience and reason. And so there's something called the natural law.
Conscience and reason. So if you have reason and you realize that, having this statist cult of sociopathic genocidal maniacs hallucinating they have the right to rule you and grant you permission, to scribble on paper to grant a marriage license because you're too much of a peasant to even decide that for yourself, that, the man, the logic and reason can decide, well, maybe marriage, government subsidized marriage or government authorized marriage, government approved, government sanctioned marriage, perhaps that's not a good idea. So how about implementing some of that logic and reason instead of saying natural law without knowing what it is? I mean, I'll look up natural law in Catholicism. Maybe he has a very strict natural law definition in Catholicism. So, wow, so that proves the point against him even more. So let's go to here to the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So here we have, this is the official Catechism of the Catholic Church. The natural law expresses the original moral sense which enables man to discern by reason the good and the evil. The natural law is written and engraved in the soul of each and every man. Because it is human reason ordaining him to do good and forbidding him to sin. But this command of human reason would not have the force of law if it were not the voice and interpreter of a higher reason to which our spirit and our freedom must be submitted. Okay, so I will also go to this all proves going against government sanctioned marriage, so to speak. This all goes against it. I mean, this is kind of insane that he can't, everything he's saying is technically proving Pearl's point, even within the strict Catholic definitions. I mean, this goof can't even apply what he's claiming to apply. He can't even do that. He's not even there. But I have another quote I want to go over here from the Bible. It's actually one of my favorite ones. Because a lot of goofs, a lot of statist goofs that claim to be Christian and follow the Bible, they clearly don't. They do the opposite of the Bible, what the Bible says, while bootlicking these corrupt statist scum authorities that claim to have the right to rule them. So we have a couple here. So 1 Corinthians 2:5, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. So you have these corrupt scum in Washington, D.C. making all these laws for the peasants. That's the wisdom of man. That's not the power of God. So the Bible clearly says to not put faith in these fallible, corrupt humans. Ephesians 6:12, for our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities. Again, those that are granting marriage license to the peasants. I mean, the rest of it goes against the powers of this dark world and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. There's a lot of components here. But it specifically says against the rulers, against the authorities. So a lot of bootlickers that claim to be Christians or religious, they put the authority of government, they put their religion of statism first, and then they pretend to be Christians that follow the Bible, like Michael Knowles here. Because he's going against how many passages? I mean, I just cited 4 different passages from the Bible that Knowles is specifically against here, while he bootlicks the state in saying that marriage is still a winning proposition on paper in this contract that one party is literally paid to break and paid handsomely depending on how much the other party makes. I mean, this is insane. This is really, really crazy. This is really crazy. I mean, the level of goofery here from Knowles. I mean, he doesn't even know what the Bible says. I mean, he's hallucinating natural law would support entering government contracts from these corrupt authorities claiming to have the right to rule against the will of God. Like, he's actually supporting this while pretending that's what the Bible says. I mean, this is crazy.
And the natural law inclines us toward marriage. Men and women are by our...
Also, notice how it never said any of that when I'm reading straight from Catholic Church literature here of the natural law. Nowhere does it say anything about marriage here. It just says against sin, you know, serving God. It doesn't say anything about marriage here. Nothing. The precepts of natural law are not perceived by everyone clearly and immediately. In the present situation, sinful man needs grace and revelation, so moral and religious truths may be known by everyone with facility, with firm certainty, and with no admixture of error. The natural law provides revealed law and grace with a foundation prepared by God and in accordance with the work of Spirit. Nowhere does it say anything about bootlicking authorities and kneeling authorities and to authorities getting marriage licenses or any of this. Nowhere does it say any of this. It actually preaches the complete opposite of that. Submission to God, not government authorities, not groveling for licenses to get married, for tax extortion breaks or whatever, not groveling in family court in violation of God. I mean, everything Knowles is saying here, I mean, this is a good freeze frame. I didn't freeze it here on purpose, but this expression on his face is clearly demonstrating the strength of his argument, which is nothing. I just went through Catholic text. It doesn't say anything about natural law being connected to marriage. I mean, maybe there's some obscure reference somewhere somehow, but just on natural law itself, it doesn't say anything about it.
Very nature inclined toward marriage. You would disagree?
No.
You wouldn't.
Well,
so there you go.
No. Well, sort of. I think men. Sorry. I think that in the current market, there are just not enough wives to go around. There are not enough wives to go. Women that deserve to be wives. In my opinion. Okay.
Sure.
You'd agree on that, right?
Well, I don't.
Like so.
I don't know exactly what you mean by that.
He doesn't know what she means by that. Seriously? I mean, he's just lying through his teeth now. Why would you even have a conversation with someone who's just a blatant, bad-faced liar like Michael Knowles? I mean, I don't think I will ever watch anything with Michael Knowles the same way again. I actually thought he was good faith. Call me naive. Like, again, I haven't seen tons and tons, but I've seen clips here and there of, over probably a few years now. And he really did seem like a legit high-level intellectual for the most part. You know, everybody's got blind spots. I've never seen him be this obviously bad faith. I've never seen him lie through his teeth so obviously as he's doing here.
Maybe I would agree, but
Okay.
I don't know exactly what you mean by it.
Okay. Do you think men should have standards?
Yes.
Do you think it's okay for them to want a woman that's in shape? Do you think that's an okay standard?
Good. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, a girl that's religious. Would you say that's good? Okay.
Necessary.
But that's not the majority. That's not the majority. So what are men supposed to do in the meantime?
You're supposed to convince the women to get in shape and get religious.
Good luck. I've done it for a year. Good luck.
You haven't had, but maybe the men would be more persuasive than you would to these women.
Good luck.
I don't know.
Did the OnlyFans models quit that you interviewed?
I don't know if that, I've only interviewed a few on whatever. But
No,
some of them
the
might.
shows. That's the point.
There's actually,
I mean, miracles happen, but I wouldn't bet on it.
there are a couple
And
gals. There are a couple gals who've written into my show, not from the Whatever podcast,
Yeah.
but who were watching my show,
Mhm.
and really watching in the member block and
Mhm.
everything, who were both like online pornographers to some degree.
Mhm.
And one said she was going to quit. I kind of lost track of her in the show. Another one
Mhm.
quit, had a major conversion,
Mhm.
and
So what are we to make of this anecdotal logical fallacy? I mean, what are we to make of it? Like, what? I mean, what does that have to do with anything? Again, how many times do we have to go back to these Bible passages? Proverbs 31:10, a good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. So he's pretending this doesn't exist. And then, of course, Proverbs 21:19, better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. So what percentage? I mean, he's already cherry-picked 1% of 1% to try to pretend marriage is good for the 1% of the 1%, which might be true for that particular group, which is completely insignificant to the general average. So, I mean, what is his point here? Like, what is Knowles trying to accomplish here? I mean, this is weird. I mean, this is just, it's just really weird.
What a wonderful evidence of the glory of God.
Was it the one on Twitter?
Yes.
Yeah, her OF link was still up. So a lot of times...
She denied it. Someone said that was true. I
her
didn't
OF
see it.
link was still up. Yes, it was. I checked it. Yes, it was. I'm positive.
She posted it and showed that it wasn't still up.
It was.
As if links can't be activated and deactivated. Like, is Knowles new to the internet? I mean, you can deactivate and reactivate a Facebook account. You can do that with any account. Like, how goofy is Michael Knowles here? I mean, he's pretending not to know how basic social media even works. I mean, this is weird.
I don't know. I don't know. She seemed pretty sincere to me. But in any case, are you denying the principle that people can change?
Yeah, I mean, God can forgive you, but men don't have to.
I'm not talking about forgiveness. I'm talking about repentance.
Repentance is good, but I wouldn't say that makes her wife worthy if you still used to have an OF account. You would agree that men in general should not date women that had OnlyFans accounts.
It's not ideal. But I don't think it's disqualifying.
Wow, it's not ideal, but not disqualifying. Wow, the level of disingenuousness of Michael Knowles, like, honestly, it's going to be tough to watch anything that this guy does after this interview. I mean, he's so bad faith. I mean, he's more bad faith than a lot of these flat earth guys, or these flat earth debaters that debate against the flat earth. He's more bad faith than a lot of these anti-flat earth grifters. I mean, this is crazy. This is really weird. I mean, he's exhibited almost zero good faith here, other than a few moments where he agreed with her while being contrarian the whole time. It's just very, very bizarre interview.
Definitively, you can't definitively.
Who thinks Michael Knowles would have married a former OnlyFans model? He says it's not ideal, but it's not disqualifying. Who thinks he really would have? I mean, I don't know. Maybe he would. Maybe he would, but this is weird. I mean, it's really weird.
Say that a woman. Okay.
I don't think it's disqualified. I mean,
well, I think you're going to have a tough time selling guys on that.
I'm not convinced of it. I mean, to quote.
Wait, what is he talking about? If he's talking about the 1% of the 1%, so if he's talking about this Orthodox Catholic young man, he thinks this, because he keeps arguing about this 1% of this 1%. He thinks they're going to want to marry a former, as he put it, online pornographer, however he put it. Is that what he really thinks? I mean, this is weird. Who thinks he's actually good faith here? Who thinks he's actually arguing in good faith? I don't know. That's a tough sell for me that he's good faith here. Because this doesn't make any sense.
John Biani, the Saints didn't all start well, but they all ended well. So I wouldn't.
Wait, what do the Saints have to do with an average man in 2024 deciding whether he is or isn't getting married? What? What? Why is he talking about saints now? Is he saying the average man can become a saint? What is he talking about?
I recommend that people get involved in porn in any way.
Okay.
But there's also, on the men's side of things, men are in a little rough shape because of our modern culture too.
Mm-hmm.
A lot are addicted to porn. A lot have hooked up with a lot of people.
But what does that have to do with anything? She was talking. Notice how he can't stay on top. He's like allergic. He's actually, this is the woke, liberal, regressive playbook. He can't stay on topic to save his life. I mean, it's just diversion, red herring, non sequitur, tu quoque. I mean, it's just fallacy after fallacy. I guess I should have implemented the fallacy counter here. I mean, they had literally 10 seconds of regular, normal conversation that I pointed out earlier. I thought this whole thing was going to be like that, which is why I didn't implement the system, where they just kind of gave their opinion. Like Pearl said, if this was Pearl's world, this is how I would have it. And then he gave his opinion. I thought the whole conversation would be like that. They basically had 10 seconds of productive, good faith conversation this whole time.
A lot of kind of indulged perversions and things like that. Doesn't make them particularly marriageable either.
But why is it whenever we say something about the women, we have to say but men?
Well, because it's an observable fact. And
classic non sequitur. Oh, look, that floor is wood. We're having this conversation. Why do we have to mention that the floor is wooden? Well, because it's an observable fact. I mean, the level of goofery that Knowles has sunk to here. Because a lot of this, like, he's using the same tactics of the woke goofs that he usually decimates. I mean, has it not dawned on him that he's humiliating himself in the exact same way that all of the woke goofs that he obliterates humiliate themselves? Like, has that not dawned on him? Like, I still can't believe he posted this. I can't believe he posted this on the internet for everybody to see. That's the most mind-shocking thing out of everything for me. I mean, Pearl would obviously post it. Why would he post this? Like, does he have no self-respect for himself? Like, I don't, again, is this some kind, has the Daily Wire just completely sold out and this is all one big Illuminati humiliation ritual?
Marriage involves men and women.
I know, but all I'm saying, you know, Michael, all I'm saying is don't date. Like, it's just crazy sometimes. I get so curious because I say men shouldn't date women that used to have OnlyFans. Like, that shouldn't even be an argument. That should be like a...
I don't know. I mean, again, it's not ideal to have...
You wouldn't date a woman with an OnlyFans.
Well, I wouldn't date any woman now because I'm happily married.
No, but if you were single, right? You wouldn't do that.
It would be...
She's obviously referring to if he were single. And he knows that. Which is why this is pure bad faith from Michael Knowles.
It would be an obstacle.
It would be such a big obstacle.
It would be an obstacle.
Do it. But that's the...
I mean, what kind of an answer is that? It would be an obstacle, so he wouldn't do it? Like, what? I mean, this is like nailing Jell-O to a wall. Michael Knowles has been reduced to arguing like a woke goof. I mean, this is sad. Did we ever think we'd see the day? I mean, Knowles built his entire career on decimating woke goofs. Now he's become one in his argumentation, at least for this interview.
Problem. I interview guys that are dating a girl for 6 months. They find out she used to have an OnlyFans account. These are real things that happen.
Sure. Yeah. It's not ideal. Though, frankly, I'm again to your point. I've been out of dating for a long time, but these days.
Well, if he was out of dating for that long, why is he arguing with her on every single point? Like, what? Like, this is really bizarre because on one hand, he's arguing like a woke goof, but on the other, he has enough awareness and wherewithal to cede basically everything, but only after being a contrarian goof. And it's always two-sided because he's still arguing. He's saying that technically she's right, but why is he still arguing? Like, if she said 1 + 1 was 2, and then Noel says, well, what do you mean by 1? Well, how are we defining 2? Okay, but 4 times 4 is 16. So why are we talking about multiplication? Well, because it's an observable fact, but we're talking about 1 + 1 is 2. Like, he can't stay on the topic. It's just absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane.
Can one find a girlfriend? I mean, I assume it can happen, but in modern kind of liberal secular dating, can one find a girlfriend who's never texted a naked picture of herself?
Wow, talk about moving the goalpost. Whoa, talk about non-congruent argument. Texted to who? A private individual? Like, did he really just compare did he really just compare private texts with someone putting things on the internet for literally millions of people to see, a lot of it for free, some of it might be paywalled, whatever? Did he seriously just make that comparison? I mean, he's gone full veg. He's been full vegetable. I mean, what? This is crazy. This is absolutely insane. Like, he's becoming the king of non sequitur, red herrings, and non-congruent arguments. I mean, that would be like what you would expect from a woke goof to bring up, to divert.
I don't know. Women do this all the time now, and then it becomes a big scandal when they get.
Yeah, and so do those women deserve to be wives?
I don't know I don't know that we deserve much of anything.
That's my.
Look at his dodging. I mean, this guy's sputtering. Oh, I don't know if we deserve much of any. I mean, these kind of diversion fallacies. I mean, this is insane. This is crazy. Like, does he not realize how dumb he's looking? I mean, I don't know if he's approaching Craig levels. Craig is a unique individual of Fight the Flat Earth. I mean, he might just be a brilliant actor who went full retard. Michael Knowles is just, I mean, I don't think it's cognitive dissonance, Matari Sensei. I think this goof is just bad faith. He's clearly lying. I mean, do you really think he doesn't know the difference between private texts, between two private individuals, and someone putting an entire website together, some kind of adult work website for the entire internet and world to see forever? Like, he really brought that up? Seriously? Like, really? I mean, this is crazy. This is insane.
To do it is my.
That's my point. Is the women of today are not the women of yesterday, and it's becoming more and more difficult to find the women that you're talking about, and there are not enough to go around.
But you're framing.
That's my point.
Sure, but you're framing this as a question of who deserves to be married. But my framing of it is what one ought to do. That marriage is a natural end of our nature.
A natural end of our nature? I mean, this guy's sputtering like a fool. I've never seen Knowles sputter and stutter and just spew nonsense like he's been doing this entire interview. I mean, this is crazy. Well, that's what's weird, Matari Sensei. Matari Sensei says he's definitely being bad faith, but it's due to his worldview, purely ideological. Did you just get here, Matari Sensei? Because it's not even his worldview. I mean, I'll go over the Bible passages again. Proverbs 31:10. A good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. Like, Knowles is just unaware of this passage, or he pretends it doesn't exist? Proverbs 21:19. Better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. Not just alone by yourself in a house, but it's better to live in the desert. In a desert with an unmarriageable wife. Or a bad wife. So even according to Knowles' own Catholicism, I even went through the definitions in the Catechism of the Catholic Church text, the reference text of natural law. It doesn't say anything about marriage. It doesn't say anything at all. I went through it earlier. I read through all of it. It's not here. It's just not here. So this is just pure lies coming from Knowles' mouth here.
I don't deal in oughts. I deal with what is. Not what I want the world to be.
But the is of our nature implies an ought in our actions.
But
what? What? The is of our nature implies the ought of our action. Even if that were true, like, let's give that to him. I don't think we should, but for the sake of argument, let's give that to him. Nothing in the nature says anything about marriage anyway, and the Bible specifically warns about the so-called wisdom of men and the rulers and the authorities. Because he's saying signing this contract where the other party is paid to break it is somehow good. And just because you can take mitigating risks, you should still do it. You should still do it. Like, let's You know, you could walk on the train tracks and not get hit by a train. You could take mitigating, you can mitigate the risk, You can maybe have a lookout somewhere. It's just crazy. I mean, this is crazy. This is definitely the worst Michael Knowles has ever looked. This is worse than anything I've seen from anybody on the Daily Wire. I mean, he's arguing like one of these woke goofs that he spent his career decimating in colleges.
It's not about what we want it to be, Michael. It's about what the world is.
I'm just
now.
saying how people ought to behave. They ought to.
Well, what does that have to do with anything? Like, he's spinning his wheels in this demagogue. I mean, he's going politician mode. I mean, he's exactly like a woke goof that doesn't want to be wrong, so they're just spinning their wheels and stuttering and sputtering and spanning fallacies, trying to appear smart and not wrong when they clearly are. This is crazy.
Get married is what I'm saying.
Okay, well,
which is implied by our nature, which is the is.
Okay.
Right.
He keeps saying nature. I don't know why she's letting him get away with this. Like, she's being way too nice. I mean, this is insane.
Because at the very least, bro, you would say people want to have kids, right?
Not a lot of people. I mean, what is he talking about? Some people do. I mean, it seems like the majority don't, and that number's plummeting. Matari Sensei says, have you seen her destroy Andrew Klavan? I haven't seen... They did an interview? I don't know how much more I can handle of these Daily Wire guys on the red pill, but, I don't know.
I mean, if women wanted to have kids so bad, why are they killing them like crazy?
Yeah, there's a lot of abortion. It's dreadful. But I'm just saying people in general, you would admit, want to have kids.
Sometimes they do and they don't. I mean, women aren't having kids like they used to. I talk to women all the time that say they don't want.
Whoa. Matari Sensei saying regarding Pearl, she whipped him too. He looked almost worse than Knowles. I find that difficult to believe. I cannot believe anybody can do worse than Knowles here in this type of debate. But I'll check it out, Sensei. I mean, I'm going to need some recovery time after this one, but we could check it out later.
Have kids.
People, they say it's unfortunate.
But
say a lot of those things.
And that's where it's going.
But I guess,
but half of women are going to be single and childless by 2030.
What about
that's
these
the way
men?
the world's going.
Wow. His immediate response is, what about these men? That's his response. Like, he can't stay on topic to save his life.
The men you're talking about, the men want to have kids, right? Or no, they're also degenerates? Everyone's just a degenerate now?
Men...
Wait, how is he equating being a degenerate with not wanting to have kids? What? I mean, a lot of smart men don't have kids because, again, they can't find the good woman, which, according to the Bible that Michael Knowles purports to believe in, Proverbs 31:10, a good woman is hard to find. So if you can't find a good woman, and then, of course, Proverbs 21:19, better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. So if these are the options, why would a God-fearing man who reads the Bible do the opposite of what the Bible says? Like, Knowles is encouraging everybody to do the opposite of what the Bible says here in his goofery. So how is that degeneracy? How is following the Bible degeneracy?
Men want marriage, relationships, and families. Men want that in general.
Okay.
But there are obstacles now that make it increasingly difficult for men to do that. One is that. Yeah, it's really common.
So you would sacrifice having children?
One is that the women are increasingly lower quality. They've gained weight. The body count numbers are up.
Buy them a Stairmaster. I don't know.
What? His solution is buy them a Stairmaster. So hold on a second. So Michael Knowles' solution is marry an obese woman and buy her a Stairmaster, because obviously she's going to use the Stairmaster. If she didn't use it to try to get a husband, she'll definitely get it after she gets a ring in marriage and becomes entitled to half of the guy's stuff. She'll definitely use the Stairmaster then, right, Michael Knowles? I mean, the level of goofery on display here, this is so painful. This is absolutely painful.
Get them a gym.
Oh, good luck. You know, I tried to pay a girl to lose weight. I swear to God I did. Because she came on my show. No, I swear. I swear. And I said, because she was really fat, and I told her to. And I was like, I'll pay for your training. And I said, I'll give you a cash prize. I said, I'll give you $3,000 if you lose weight. That's a ton of money.
Yeah.
She couldn't do it. She
I'll
couldn't
hit
stick
the
to
gym
it for a month.
$3,000.
Yeah.
Do I get the offer?
Well, you look like you're in shape.
Stop it. Come on.
You know?
Yeah.
But that's my point. You know, one obstacle is that the women are lower quality. Okay. The benefits are not the same. Most women are not raised to be traditional wives and mothers, and the cost is getting higher.
So,
You know, divorces are getting more expensive.
Wouldn't you think that a supposedly biblical man like Michael Knowles, unless he's a total fraud and charlatan, which maybe he is, wouldn't he be agreeing with everything she's saying? Because everything she's saying is backed up by the Bible and common sense. Like, what is Knowles' obsession with bootlicking the state in regards to marriage licenses? Like, this is weird.
Weddings are getting more expensive. So when you combine those,
they don't need to be, but they are often.
I agree, but it's not about what I want the world to be.
No,
I'm Catholic too.
Does anybody notice the irony here? Michael Knowles is arguing like the emotional woman, and Pearl is arguing like the grounded, logical man. It's like they switched roles from Knowles' usual performance at colleges against some of these woke goof women. I mean, the irony here.
And I think there's awesome things about the Catholic Church, but
maybe Knowles should have been in the dress and Pearl should have been in the suit.
It's a big but.
It's
never good to say I'm a part of this religion, but.
No, but it doesn't mean everyone's following it. It doesn't mean that's the norm. And I'm talking about what the world is, not what I want it to be.
No, but it's not just what you want it to be. I'm saying, like, if I'm a young man, and I'm acknowledging a lot of the things you're saying. It's tough dating out there. But look, I want to have kids. I want to have a family. I know you say you don't want to give men advice.
I say every man, you have to decide for yourself.
Well, we could just refer to the Bible. Why not go to Proverbs 21:19? Better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. Why not just defer to the Bible? Why is Michael Knowles so against the Bible? I don't get it.
But let's say the man came to you and said, Pearl, I know what you, but I don't care what you want, I demand.
These hypothetical situations.
Well, we're just discussing a concept in the abstract. I think you're kind of sneaking around giving advice, because I think you're saying, look, through my reason, I've arrived at this conclusion about what's rational and advisable, but I'm not giving advice. So let's get through all that. Let's say the man comes to you, says, Pearl, give me the advice. Should I get married?
Are we reporters or preachers?
I'm just a writer and a talker.
But that's my point. Is you're okay. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Your options are going to be completely different than another guy's options.
Why? Because I'm devilishly handsome.
Yeah. Devilishly handsome, you know. That's not the case for everyone.
Did he just call himself devilish? Is that a reveal there?
Every man has to decide for himself. Do you think men should be extremely cautious when getting married?
I think they ought to be extremely prudent when getting married. Not cautious. I think courage is a virtue and the prerequisite for all the other virtues.
I mean, this guy's going to etymological logical fallacies now. I mean, this is pathetic. This is pathetic. I mean, this is absolutely pathetic. Prudent and cautious are obviously synonyms. I mean, Cambridge Dictionary defines showing good judgment in avoiding risks and uncertainties. Careful. That's what prudent means. I mean, that's the same thing as cautious. Careful to avoid, Oxford defines cautious as careful to avoid potential problems or dangers. I mean, it's the same thing. They're synonyms. And this goof is sputtering and I mean, he's collapsing so fast and so hard. He has to pathetically grasp at these etymological logical fallacies.
So I don't think men should be little wallflowers backing away from a challenge, but they ought to be prudent. They ought to use their judgment properly. And so there are ways to mitigate risks within marriage. But furthermore, they ought to get married because that is way to achieve the very thing you're suggesting they ought to, which is their purpose.
What if no women want to get married?
Well, they do want to get married.
No, they don't.
I mean,
because when women have the most choice, we don't choose marriage. Women have the most choice when it comes to commitment around the age of 22. They're not choosing to get married. I don't pay attention to what people say.
No,
you
mean when they have the most options, when they're the most marriageable. But
yeah,
they do. But you will acknowledge those women who have been duped by feminism. Maybe even after they're past their prime marriageable age, they come to regret it.
I don't blame it on feminism.
Wait, how is them regretting it have anything to do with what she just said, though? She said they don't choose it. The regrets of people later in life, how is that relevant? I mean, this goof is just completely collapsed. I mean, he has no logical arguments whatsoever. I mean, he's just been completely thrashed here. Absolutely completely thrashed. Here's an interesting counterpoint. I don't know if she's going to use this argument. I mean, she's letting him off the hook all over the place. If someone wants to do something, they do it, right? Like a man, if his primary goal is to be really good at a particular career, he's working on it 40 hours a week, 80 hours a week. So a woman who wants to get married and have a family, if she's at her job 40 to 80 hours a week, and she's maybe dating 2 or 3 hours a week, I mean, is that truly, I mean, it's... where's the priority list there? I mean, obviously that's her choice. And maybe for some women that is the correct choice. But to hallucinate that the majority of career women are actively trying to get married when they're devoting, let's say, 1% of their time to finding a husband and 99% of their time to either work or partying or whatever they do, or athletes in sports, they could be very legitimate pursuits. But to hallucinate and pretend that someone that only dedicates 1% of their time to something is serious about it, is serious about pursuing it, I mean, what kind of goofery is that? I mean, Knowles is just basically brain dead here. I mean, I don't know. This is going to be tough to get through. We might have to do a part 3 on this.
Get it different. I know women that have been raised in this culture that chose to get married at 22, waited till me, I know women that did the whole, exactly what you're describing. So it was based on the choice. Every woman has choice. Every woman has agency.
And they got married.
Yes, but there's also women that chose to go on OnlyFans.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I'm saying.
I'm just saying, I think those women tend to regret it.
But I'm saying, I don't like blaming your decisions on society because at the end of the day, you are responsible for the decisions that you make.
Right, but your education is responsible for forming the way that you think about things,
No, but there's people in the same education and they make different decisions.
When I mean education in the broad sense, meaning how people are raised, which gets to the point of marriage. But
I know there's people that that are raised in bad environments and choose not to do that. Everyone has everyone's got free will, Michael.
Sure, but we're also...
So now Pearl has to educate Knowles on what free will is, God-given free will. I mean, this is so sad and pathetic now. I mean, I was laughing at Knowles. Now I just feel bad for him. I mean, this level of humiliation, how is he ever going to come back from this?
Shaped by our social context and our educations.
Right, but aren't you you're responsible for the choices you make, right?
I'm a moral agent.
He's totally he just went full contrarian, full vegetable mode. He's literally just saying the opposite of everything she's saying just for the sake of it. And he has no logical basis for doing so. He's getting thrashed.
I am? Okay.
But I'm more morally free to act the more that I can discipline my lower passions and bring them into accord with my rational will, which is why I'm discussing marriage as a matter of reason. So I guess the question you'd have to ask is, even before we can say whether or not you want to give advice to men, but should they or shouldn't they, what is marriage for? Like, what's the point of it? So what's the point of marriage?
I think that the point of marriage is, I mean, it's to create a union. It's supposed to, it's supposed to be you are submitting to your husband's authority and you're creating a family.
And creating a family.
Yeah.
Yes. So it's forming a union with certain roles and, a structure, and to create a family.
And do you think that's how it's being used today for the average person? For the average person?
Yeah, it forms a union. It creates a family.
The average marriage is 7 years.
Yeah, but it's a union.
But
I think there's
Now he's arguing with her over what union is supposed to be. I mean, even small children understand until death do us part. And now this goof, he's going full vegetable contrarian mode, even on the word union? Wow. I mean, like, I just feel so bad for him. I mean, he's absolutely collapsed. The floor has dropped out now multiple times on his goofery. I mean, there seems to be no brain function whatsoever here.
But I think that those are some basics.
The average marriage is 7 years.
Right, but that still forms a union and often creates a family. That's what you're talking about, the struggles.
Right, but it's supposed to be for life, not for now.
I agree.
And that's what I say. It's not about what ought to be. It's about what is today. And right now, a man cannot have children in this country and not be signed up for the state contract. So
that's always been true.
I think.
What? That's always been true? What is this goof smoking? What is this goof smoking? He thinks that things are the same way today as 200 years ago or even 100 years ago. Most of these family court acts, etc., were just this past century. I mean, it's always been true. In the U.S., family courts were established in the 1910s. So prior to that, it wasn't. I mean, this is painful. This is absolutely painful here at just how Michael Knowles is utterly humiliating himself. It's always been true? What? What? I mean, even the laws with divorce and the woman being compensated is relatively new in terms of all of history.
But my point is, why can't we change the laws first?
Because we live in time and space, and you'll die alone without having had kids and without having.
Why?
Wait, what? You can't change laws because we live in time and space, and lifespans are limited. What? What? Okay, this has got to be a joke. He has to be intentionally trying to make the dumbest argument possible. I can't think of a dumber one. Laws can't be changed because we live in time and space. What? And humans have lifespans. That's why laws can't be changed. And he said that with a straight face. I mean, I don't know. This is bizarre. I mean, he's gone full retard, full vegetable. I mean, I don't even know what to make of this now. Laws can't be changed because we live in time and space and humans have lifespans. This is a supposed intellectual, writer, political commentator with a certain amount of education in history and the law. He's saying laws can't be changed because we live in time and space. Wow.
Of a family.
Why? You guys are one of the most influential media networks.
We are. And we're very persuasive.
How is she just not laughing in his face?
Very powerful.
You guys are.
And yet we're not changing the divorce laws. Try as we might. It hasn't happened.
No, but you guys barely cover it.
I talk about it all the time. What are you talking about? I talk about marriage on my show probably every single day.
Right, but...
And notice the fallacy stack there. So he strawmanned, goalpost move, non-congruent argument, red herring about how he talked, because she's specifically talking about some of these laws, and he shifted it to marriage in general. I mean, this is just pathetically bad faith. Pathetically.
When we talk about specifics, I was, talking about the tender years doctrine.
Yeah.
It's like, even in California,
sure,
if a woman lies about paternity of the child and it's not found out before the age of 2, that man's on child support for life, even though that woman committed fraud. And these are real things that happen in this country.
The man is on if the father doesn't discover that he's not really the father.
Yeah.
Because he's acting basically as like a duped adoptive father or something like that. Yeah. Again,
because the way the laws are is it goes in best interest of the child, which generally means the best interest of the mother.
Right, but you do not need to convince me that the divorce laws are dreadful.
Right.
What you do need to convince me of is that men ought not to be married until the laws are changed.
Why do men have to sacrifice their security for women's security? Women have made the choice to leave marriages. Women have made the choice to collect alimony and child support. Why do men need to sacrifice their security for women's?
Because it is good for men to be married. And
what? Can you imagine if this is framed properly? Like, why is it good for a human to enter a contract with another human? One of these humans is going to have their rights violated, not be entitled to their own children, have most of their stuff stolen from them. Now, in certain cases, it might be justifiable, obviously. If they did something illegal, they beat the wife or the children, whatever. Nobody's talking about those situations. Like, obviously, that's all legit. But in other situations where it's a good man and he's done nothing but support and provide, and all of this is taken from him and the other party has the incentive to break that contract, he's saying you should still do it because it's good. That's his argument. And this whole thing doesn't make sense because it's like he's acting like a bootlicking statist here, the kind that he argues against. Because again, Ephesians 6:12, our struggle is not against the flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities. And this goof is promoting bootlicking? It's really weird.
And to have children. It's not that they're forced or coerced. It's good for them.
But then why is the reputation of marriage so bad? If this was a great product,
I don't think it's so bad. I think it's the most popular institution in human history.
No, that's not true. Because you're out of touch. Why do we have phrases like happy wife, happy life? Why do we have phrases like it's cheaper to keep her? Why are those these aren't made up, Michael?
Right, they're kind of funny little jokes about marriage, which is the enduring institution.
Right,
they're funny little jokes. But why are they funny little jokes? And the goof has no response for that. He can only dismiss it. He can only hand wave it as a joke.
The popularity of which is attested to by its permanence throughout human life.
Why do they ring true?
They don't really ring true to me. Happy wife, happy life happy life is a recipe for a terrible marriage.
We agree. Yeah, we agree.
Right. But it's kind of a joke. I mean, we make little jokes about that. In the Henny Youngman line, "Take my wife, please." I might use that line, but I don't mean it.
Why is that funny?
Because
it rings true.
Because it's ironic. Quite the opposite, right? It's funny because it's ironic.
No, it's funny because
what? Wait, what is ironic about it? Wait. Does he not know what the word ironic means now? Have we sunk to this level where Michael Knowles either doesn't know what ironic means or he's pretending not to? I mean, this is a brand new level of goofery here. I really didn't think, I thought part one was a train wreck. Oh, man. We hadn't seen anything compared to this. I mean, is it possible for him to sink even further at this point? Is it possible to sink further? So he thinks unhappy wife would make a happy life? What is he talking about?
Because this stuff rings.
It's true. You bicker.
Is it not cheaper to keep her in the cases of divorce, especially with rich men? Like, what is Michael Knowles' brain just simply not functioning, or has he just resorted to lying every time he opens his mouth now?
With your spouse sometimes. That's the truthful part. Mm-hmm. The ironic part is you don't actually want to give your wife away. Take my wife, please.
Okay, well,
right.
But, okay, it's cheaper to keep her. That's a phrase, right?
Yeah.
Why does it exist?
It exists because divorce laws are so bad, and that's what the joke is about.
Okay, so again, if the marriage contract...
So it does ring true, then?
...contract is so good, why do you have to convince men to sign up? If they're getting such great benefits from marriage?
Because we live in the reason that we need to convince people.
He's stuttering, sputtering, repeating the question. I mean, this goof just got decimated. I mean, he got thrashed so severely. I mean, Pearl Davis, this random chick in her 20s, has completely reduced Michael Knowles to a babbling moron. I mean, who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it?
To get married is because liberalism has inculcated in people an extreme individualism that and an extreme subjectivism that disconnects their actions and their interests from reason and objective reality.
So wouldn't reason so we have reason and objective reality. So we can look at it with the Bible and without the Bible. So with the Bible, of course, we have all these passages that I've gone over. I'll repeat them again, because this goof doesn't know them. We have, of course, Proverbs 31:10. A good woman is hard to find. We have Proverbs 21:19. Better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. So logic and reason would dictate it would better to not be married if the other choice is to be married with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. Now, if you can find a good wife, obviously that would be perfectly fine. But hallucinating that there's only two options and it's better to get whatever you can get just for the sake of being married. I mean, this level of goofery is in direct violation of the Bible. Not to mention, if we're doing a non-religious, non-biblical argument, again, what kind of goof would sign up for a losing proposition? How is that utilization of logic and reason? I mean, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Knowles doesn't even know what logic and reason are.
And the common good. That's the actual reason why, and it's not just pertaining to marriage. It pertains to building up wealth. It pertains to duties that are owed to the family, to the community, and to God. It pertains to all aspects of public life. It's not.
So if a woman doesn't fulfill these duties, a guy's supposed to just marry whoever he can find? Because everything that Michael Knowles is saying technically supports all of Pearl's arguments. But I don't know if he's just too clueless to realize it. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. He's just going full vegetable for the sake of going full vegetable. I don't know.
Not just marriage, but because marriage is the fundamental political building block, you see it expressed there.
I'm not against marriage, but I think that men, regardless of what I say, because I'm not going to convince the entire country to get married. Like, no matter what I say.
You don't seem interested in doing so.
Because I don't talk about what I want the world to be.
You talk about how dreadful marriage is.
Can you imagine if people just recommended for just any businessman, like, enter these horrible contracts, like, do it. It's for the common good. Enter this horrible contract. Just sign it. I mean, the level of goofery here.
I don't talk about no. There's good marriages, Michael, but marriage as we do it today is not marriage anymore. And I cannot fault men for being cautious. And some men just aren't going to get married because the laws are too favorable to women.
You know what another interesting parallel here is? Like, if you go gambling at the casino, I mean, look at all the people that win. I mean, this guy won on roulette, this other guy won on poker, this guy hit this jackpot on slots over here. So some of these guys are clearly winning. That means everybody should go to the casino. I mean, that's basically Michael Knowles' argument in a nutshell. That there are some success stories, so that means everybody should aspire to be a gambler because there are these success stories. And he thinks all statistics are fake. So the statistical probabilities of winning at roulette, according to Michael Knowles, those are fake and you should play anyway. Like, what is his actual argument? I don't know if he's ever even stated it, other than marriage is somehow good. That's like saying, winning money is good or having money is good. You can support yourself. You can support your family. You don't have to live in poverty. So that means we should all go gamble at the casino, according to Michael Knowles.
And I think that, okay, I'm going to tell a story. I want you to not interrupt me.
Okay.
Can you please not?
Anytime. I would never interrupt a lady.
Okay. So I do interviews of men that have been divorced often. Okay. And there is a guy I interviewed, and he married a Christian woman. Okay. Good Christian woman, no kids, not overweight, no tattoos.
Checks all the boxes.
No glaring red flags. Okay. They have 2 children together. And what happened was one day he comes home And when he comes home from work, the wife has filed a temporary restraining order on him. Women can get these just like that. He's kicked out of his house. No trial, no evidence, no nothing, okay? Now he has to wait, it's during COVID, so he has to wait a year, year and a half to even get to see his children, okay, and even fight for them. And by the time he gets to court, the mom's been in the kid's ear saying how terrible of a person he is, okay? Now they go to court and they say to him, well, you haven't been in the kid's life for a year, year and a half, even though she lied about the abuse and they figured that out in court. This man had, and I saw his court documents, text evidence that this woman was planning to do this to him. In the year, he still had to pay the mortgage on the house. He still had to pay child support in that year, year and a half period. Goes to court. Now, he doesn't get access to his children. He hasn't seen his kids in 2 years. Michael, they live a mile from him.
That's awful.
A mile from him. He's so stressed out, he loses his.
That's awful. I mean, look at all these people who lost their life savings in the casino. But as long as there's a couple that hit a jackpot, Michael Knowles still recommends going to the casino. I mean, this level of goofery is insane. And not only that, Michael Knowles is pretending that all statistics are fake. Like, it's so weird. I mean, was this just some kind of a... Is he acting here? I mean, is he playing the role of like a woke doof vegetable? Was this some kind of exercise? I mean, that would explain things, wouldn't it? But it's just so weird.
Job. Because can you imagine going through that? And he's an average earner. He's not like, because I've interviewed men that make, I interviewed a guy from Texas. He spent $1.5 million on a divorce. He got his kids every other weekend. And these are real things. And Michael, the saddest thing that you see is a man. I've interviewed so many men that I would not be surprised if they committed suicide in the next year because the woman has completely ruined their reputation.
I mean, and the suicide angle is also kind of crazy because the gamblers who lost their life savings and committed suicide, Michael Knowles would still recommend that everybody go to the casino just because he can point to however many winners and he can still say, oh, it's worth it. No matter how many suicides, no matter how many people lose, Michael Knowles will only look at the people that win and ignore the statistical probabilities of the casino games. That's the best parallel I can come up with here. And his level of goofery renders him unable to see it, or if he's just flat out lying and he does see it and he doesn't care. I mean, I don't know.
He's called him an abuser, all of this stuff. So his friends, it's completely different with his friends. His kids think he's the bad guy. He's out of money, and he has to start over at 40, 45, 50 years old. And the men are 9 times more likely.
What do you mean start over?
Start over as in money. Like he has to start his life over. They're wrecked. They are wrecked in these. And the problem is in family court, it's not based on evidence. It is not. It is based on a balance of probabilities, meaning it is more likely that he did it than he didn't.
Yeah.
And women are not punished for falsely accusing men of abuse.
And according to Michael Knowles, none of these laws can be changed because we live in time and space. That was his answer.
Because they've changed the definition of abuse. And these are, even if it's 5% of men that this happens to, let's say out of 100, this happens to 5%, even in the Christian churches. I would never, if I got on a plane and there was, there was a 20% chance of I get to paradise and there's a 5% chance of it crashing, I'm not getting on.
Right.
And you have to understand, this is death to a lot of men. The idea that they can't see their kids that are a mile from them. They're sending them money. And Glenn, a guy he's one of the guys that happened to.
Yeah.
And he didn't, it's like a lot of these guys did everything that you guys say. And when you guys say get married young, a lot of these men don't know what they're signing up for. And you're not going to be there when their entire life falls apart. I interview them on the other side. And that's why when you just say, just find a good Christian girl and get married. That's
not exactly what
I'm paraphrasing.
That isn't what he said. He said that OnlyFans wasn't even a deal breaker. That's what he said. He did not say find a nice Christian girl. He's saying, oh yeah, if they have an OnlyFans, whatever. It's not insurmountable. Like, I mean, the level of goofery here, this is crazy.
Phrasing.
But it's an important distinction.
But when you say, which is the minority. That's not the majority of women. We know that's not the majority of women that are praying every day. They're going to Latin Mass. You know, I'm Catholic. Most of the women I went to school with are not practicing now. So this is not the majority of women. And you know, I just don't think, I think sometimes you minimize the risk. You know, out of every 100 divorces.
And again, just to reiterate with the casino example, how hard would Michael Knowles be laughed at if he just recommended that everybody always go to the casino? Because he could always point to a couple of winners. And he can just hand wave away all the people who lost their life savings and committed suicide and have gambling problems or just flat out lose week after week after week. He could just hand wave them away and only point to the winners. I mean, that's the level of goofery we're dealing with here in this particular debate. It's crazy. And of course, he completely ignores the Bible in all of this.
And I know we were going to go back and forth on the numbers, but just trust me that I'm not making this up. It's 30% are malicious, and by
I think
malicious,
they're all malicious, actually.
No, I don't say that, and I'm
But
not anti.
Oh, okay. I think divorces.
Fair.
So now, hold on. So now he's being contrarian to one-up Pearl on her own position. Wow, even I did not anticipate this. So he is one-upping the goofer. So now he's saying it's even worse than Pearl is saying. Is anybody else in as disbelief as me? So Pearl is saying only 30% of the divorces are specifically intentionally malicious. Knowles is saying all of them are. So that's even less of a reason to enter the contract. Like, I can't even keep track of Knowles' goofery and contrarianism here. I mean, he's stacking the contrarianism to agree with Pearl even more than she's agreeing with herself. Is anybody following? This is madness now. I mean, we've descended into complete madness with Michael Knowles here.
Fair, but when I say malicious, I mean alienating the child or the father from the kids, putting them on child support, alimony. So that's 30. That's around out of every 100 divorces, around 13.
Yeah.
So
again, I would say it's higher.
That's not. But that's.
So he would say it's higher. So he's supporting Pearl's position even more. So what are they even talking about here? So he's saying the statistics are even worse. The probabilities are even worse than Pearl is saying. 70% worse than she's saying. But you should still do it. So, wow. I mean, this is crazy. I don't know how much longer I can handle this, so we're probably going to be wrapping this up soon. I need a break from Michael Knowles. I mean, I don't know. This is tough.
Not an insignificant number. Men, you know, I interviewed a guy. He spent $1.5 million on a divorce.
Yeah.
He gets to see his kids every other weekend.
It's awful.
It's awful. And that's why, you know, we could go back and
it's so awful. Let's all sign up for it.
forth about, you know, the numbers. But I've seen so many men on the brink of suicide, and they didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that they didn't do anything wrong, but I agree. You know, the situation is just dreadful. We all do terrible things, and there, before the grace of God, go all of us.
Notice how nowhere does he think the woman has any responsibility for anything. He's immediately going to, well, maybe they did something wrong. I don't know what the situation is. Grace of God. No, it's like he's allergic. He's arguing like one of these woke, lib feminist women who can never take accountability for anything. Like he's turned into one of them. Like, why isn't he wearing a dress right now?
Because we're all sinners. And, you know, the fact that something went so terribly wrong in their marriage suggests that, well, there's no such thing as no-fault divorce, so there was fault somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But
it just couldn't have been with the wife. Like, it had to have been somewhere, but not with the wife. That's just not an option for Knowles to ever acknowledge in any way. I mean, look at the level of goofery here.
We agree so broadly that I'm not exactly sure what we disagree about. Mm-hmm. We agree that the divorce court system is dreadful. We agree that the divorce laws are terrible. Mm-hmm. We agree that modern dating is challenging. But I guess...
So what I would say, to switch things, I think men shouldn't vote for either party. Because neither party is taking their issue seriously. I mean,
the issue of divorce.
Where is the mandatory DNA testing? I mean, people
I would
differentiate
not
on
like
these.
mandatory DNA testing.
People that, well, around.
Wait, what? So he wouldn't want to know if his child is truly his biological child? That's kind of weird. Now, by mandatory, I don't mean the government would be in charge of it. It should obviously be third-party, private labs. But yeah, that's weird. So Michael Knowles would rather raise kids that he's not sure are his. Man, this has got to be an act. This has to be an act. I mean, this is crazy.
Around 5% of men, up to 30. I mean, it's disputed. I don't want to go back and forth all day, but a significant number of men are raising children that are not theirs.
There's a line in I think it's the Odyssey of where the son of Odysseus says, "It's a wise man who knows his own father." It's true. It's been true for a long time.
Okay, well, I don't know what that has to.
Well, you raised the question of paternity, and I'm saying this has been a long-standing trope in the Western tradition.
Yeah, also the sky is blue. Like, let's not forget that. The sky's blue, the floor in the room they're in is made of wood. I mean, it's an observable fact, so we have to mention it. We can't stay strictly on topic according to Michael Knowles.
Go back to the earliest days.
But my point is they're not taking men's issues seriously. I don't.
Which Michael Knowles just proved by making a whole joke of it with the... I mean, did they have DNA testing during the times of the Odyssey? Maybe they did. I mean, I don't know. Mud, flood, Tartaria, who knows? But, I mean, just the level of goofery. He wants to make it a joke that a certain percentage of men don't even know that their kids aren't their biological kids. I mean, that's kind of crazy. And he's defending this? This is weird.
I think either party is. So I think... Really, if it was up to me, I would say, men, don't vote until one of the parties starts taking you seriously.
Sure.
I would like to. I would be interested to know what Pearl's thoughts would be once the religious cult of statism is explained to her in very clear terms, because she seems to be stuck in the statist paradigm. I don't know if she's just not been exposed to what the government actually is. I don't know. Would be interesting.
I think the left should try to buy him. Not buy him, but if Biden came out tomorrow and said, "Hey, we're going to make divorce and family court more fair. We're going to, we're going to do mandatory DNA test." You might disagree with that.
I wouldn't like that. I find that to be quite disrespectful to the institution of marriage.
Well, I think it's more disrespectful that women are lying to men about paternity. And that's a real problem.
Sure. Yeah.
So
deceitful women, it's a problem throughout history.
Wow. I didn't expect him to actually say that. Is anybody else surprised? This is the first point. We're about an hour in to their interview. This is the first time he's ever said anything even remotely critical about women. Deceitful women. She should have asked, well, what percentage of women are deceitful? He would have probably he would have spiraled there on that question.
Right, and even if it's 2%, 1%, that's 1 out of every 100 guys. That's a real issue. And there's no penalty for women doing it, even though it's fraud.
Sure.
And so until the right and the left start taking men seriously when it comes to their issues, I think men should bow out. But this is Pearl's world.
In Pearl's world,
yeah.
Again, so it's confusing because you say, I don't ever tell men what I think they ought to do, but you just said,
At this point, Heracles, I wouldn't be surprised if Michael Knowles is pretending not to know about Eve and the Garden of Eden, or even Lilith. I mean, just the level of goofery that Knowles has sunk to. Like, how can anybody ever watch any debate from now on and not remember Knowles' performance here? I don't know if he can come back from this. I really don't.
I think men should bow out.
I think that would be a strategy. Sorry.
Right, but you say the same kind of thing when you say, I think men ought to wait until the laws change before they get married.
Every man has to decide for himself.
You just told men what to do when it comes to voting.
Every man has to decide for himself what he does in his personal life. I think a good strategy could be that men walk away until the laws change. I think it's fair. I think that's a good strategy. There are other ones. Maybe you could come up with some. You guys are one of the largest, political media organizations.
Well,
but I think a better strategy for you guys would be to maybe start catering, to start because I don't really think banning no-fault divorce would really change much. The culture
Would
is
change
what
a
it is.
ton. You know, when they
I
introduced no-fault divorce in 1969, I think it was, in Canada.
Mhm.
He completely missed the point there. Possibly intentionally. Or he's just this triggered. Like, I don't know. This is tough. Her point was that people lie. So they could lie and say someone's at fault, whatever. The cops usually trust the woman in most domestic violence situations. It's, yeah, it's kind of crazy. He completely missed that. Like, I don't know, the mental capacity just got turned off. It just got completely turned off.
The divorce rates shot up 500% within 2 years.
Mhm.
Ending no-fault.
And that was also decades and decades ago. I mean, we're in the post-social media, post-Instagram, narcissism on steroids age now. So, his non-congruent arguments here are just very, very silly.
First of all, no-fault divorce wasn't even recognized in liberal New York until 2010. That change alone, it wouldn't solve the problem, but it would go a long way towards
Yeah,
solving the
but
problem.
that generation, a lot of them were separated anyways.
Separation
So,
is one thing. Divorce is
yeah,
quite
but
another.
look,
Really? Wow. I mean, Knowles is just so brilliant and astute here. I mean, profound wisdom spewing from Knowles.
Because that would mitigate all the problems you're describing.
I would be for it. I just don't see that getting passed anytime soon.
Right, I don't see any of these laws getting passed. That's why I'm telling men, don't put off your life and put off having a family until the laws get passed.
Don't put off going to the casino. You don't need the odds to improve. Go gamble anyway. Man, I mean, this is the worst. This is worse than Shapiro's blind spots. I mean, even Shapiro acknowledged the side effects of certain medical treatments. I mean, even Shapiro with his blind spots.
Well, I think we would have a lot better chance of getting them passed if that was the #1 issue you guys were talking about. If that was the #1 issue.
It is. I don't think I'm exaggerating.
Okay.
It might be the #1 issue I've talked about. I mean, I was just at CPAC, and I got in all sorts of trouble for saying that the way that people describe marriage these days is wrong, and marriage is a lifelong union between a man and a woman for the good of.
You would agree it's not how it's practiced today.
It is how it's practiced by the people who have reasonable marriages.
Again, with his cherry-picking logical fallacy stacks. Look at all those winners at the casino. I agree that people win in the casino of the winners, of the people that hit the jackpot. They did it right. They did it right.
It's not how it's practiced today, not in the special religion, but by and large.
Again, when you say special religion, it seems to me you're trying to marginalize the Catholic faith or other faiths.
I'm Catholic.
I suppose, but I think you're marginalizing it anyway. But religion is just a habit of virtue that inclines the will to.
So for people who don't want to go to the casino, they don't want to chance it, are they just marginalizing the casino winners, the jackpot? Are they just marginalizing the jackpot winners? And we should all just advocate going to the casino anyway, because as long as there are enough winners to prove that the casino is a good investment,
give to God what he deserves, right? So it's just kind of the way that one.
Sorry,
acts.
the reason I say that is because I grew up in the Catholic faith, and I don't think that exempts men from the risk of getting married. One girl I interviewed, she was from Latin Mass, like one of those communities, and she had horrible parental alienation. I mean, her mother. There's a whole book that it's called "How to Destroy a Man." And it lays out the framework exactly for how women can legally destroy a man, take his assets, take his children, and ruin his reputation.
I wouldn't recommend
This is
reading
a step.
it.
This is a step. No, I've read it. No, I mean not for that, but it's like a step-by-step guide. And this mother did it, and this was in a Latin Mass, like Orthodox community, and that's why I say
again, because of these terms are sort of ambiguous and contradictory even in this case. So I'd be curious to see the actual case.
Well,
that you're describing.
I guess what I would say is sometimes women have feelings about religion at 22, and at 42 they change. And there's no consequence for women leaving right now.
But people could change their minds at any given time.
Correct. But in fact, they're paid to do so. And so I will never shame men for making a decision that's right for them.
But you're going further than not shaming them. I think we've gotten to the point where you've said it's at least a good strategy to walk away from the institution of marriage until the laws have changed. You just said that.
I say do whatever you want, guys. But no,
I said to me.
I said, regardless of what I say, men will walk away.
So let's establish men won't listen to Pearl, as you just said. Let's establish that you think men ought to make their own decisions.
Yeah.
We've long established. You also just said it is a good strategy for men to walk away from the institution of marriage until the laws change. You just said that.
No, I was talking about the vote.
They should walk away from
the voting.
The ballot box.
That was the ballot box.
Until okay.
I said,
so at the very least, we've
I said that's a strategy that men can do.
A good strategy.
But
not just a bad strategy.
I mean, how else? I mean, what have conservatives succeeded in conserving the last 50 years?
So he really thought that she's advocating bad strategy? Like what? I mean, can anybody? I don't know if I've ever seen an argument more in bad faith than this. I mean, even anti-flat Earth grifters aren't this bad faith. I mean, they have moments where they're not bad faith.
Not so much as the women's bathroom, I guess.
but so you're asking them to get on a team that's losing.
Right. I mean, that's what Whittaker Chambers said when he left being a communist to become a conservative.
Right.
He thought he was joining the losing team. And maybe that's the case. I mean, in the long run, we're all dead, and the world's going to fall to pot, and then the second coming will occur. But that's
wait, what? What? We're all dead anyway. He seriously went to nothing matters because we're all dead anyway. Wow. I mean, this is incredible. I mean, Michael Knowles' ability to drop the floor out on his own goofery. Time after time after time. I mean, this is actually impressive. I've gone from feeling sorry for Michael Knowles to I'm actually impressed. I'm actually impressed at his ability to drop the floor out on his own goofery. I mean, I thought he was total flatline brain dead vegetable, but he's actually getting dumber. I mean, I didn't think this was possible. I mean, this is wild.
Not an excuse to avoid doing what is just and good and right and in line with our natural desires.
But it's not unjust for men to not want to have children.
It's disordered. It's disordered for men not to.
We have priests.
Yeah. Clerical life, some are called by the charism of celibacy, but for most men, and by the way, they're called to the charism of celibacy in the priesthood because the priests act in the person of Christ, who is the bridegroom of the church. But for people who are not following a religious vocation, they are called to family life.
Okay, if there are not enough wives, what are men supposed to do?
They are called to family life. Citation, please. I mean, for a guy that claims to follow the Bible, where are the verses? I mean, I cited a bunch. Proverbs 21:19, better to live in the desert than with a contentious and ill-tempered wife. And again, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, natural moral law, is written and engraved in the soul of each and every man because it is human reason ordaining him to do good and forbidding him to sin. So this is his own reason and discernment, and able to discern by reason the good and evil, and the truth and the lie. Furthermore, the other one I cited was Ephesians 6:12, struggle is not against the flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, those looking to subjugate, those granting marriage license as if people are cattle that don't have the rights or ability to decide for themselves what kind of, if they want to marry or not. 1 Corinthians 2:5, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. And Knowles has just turned into a complete bootlicker here. He's an anti-Bible bootlicker here. I mean, this is crazy.
It's about 50-50 in the population.
If there are not enough wives, what are men supposed to do?
There is basically parity between men and women. So there are enough wives.
Okay, well.
What? So, okay, again, completely ignoring Proverbs 31:10. A good woman is hard to find and worth far more than diamonds. So if a good marriageable woman is so rare and hard to find, what is this parody that Michael Knowles is hallucinating in his goofery? Welcome, Boggin. I mean, you've just entered a complete train wreck here. Michael Knowles is saying that there's parity. Basically, there's a wife for everybody. Now, I'm not technically saying he's wrong, because if there's a man who's a complete sinner, a degenerate, I mean, I guess there's a degenerate woman for him, right? But if you're talking, what is the average man? Is the average man truly this degenerate? Because feminism has basically turned the top 5-10% of men into these promiscuous degenerates that are being promiscuous and degenerate with the top 80% of women. So clearly there's not parity. There's no parity to be found here, like Knowles is hallucinating in complete bad faith.
Then I'm sure you'll see a spike in the men signing up
No,
for marriage.
I agree that there's a great deal of selfishness and liberalism, but I think that's the view that you're articulating, and the view of the red pill people is basically a view that presumes a liberal, secular, individualist anthropology that is contrary to natural.
Wait, what? Aren't a lot of the red pill people Christians? I mean, Pearl herself said she was Catholic. Like, what is Knowles is just hallucinating here, or just flat out lying if he doesn't know. I mean, this has got to be the worst performance of any debate ever. I mean, this is crazy.
Reason in the flourishing of men.
No, I would disagree with that.
How am I wrong? You're saying men ought to just pursue their own interests regardless of, say,
I think
nature.
when you have a smoking gun, I mean, that's essentially what it, like, you know, I tell you these stories and you just say, sign up anyways.
I'm saying be prudent, but I'm saying be prudent in everything in life. You know, you could get in a car and get in a car accident because of, the other day, a teenage girl driver, another girl hit me while I was driving, but I'm not saying don't get in a car. I'm saying
but if I get into a car and I...
Wait, he just compared getting into a car to getting married? Wow.
I see 30% of people crashing. I'm not getting into that car, regardless of the 10% of people.
I mean, that's a good point, too. That's a good point. Like, based on the amount of drivers, it's actually not that dangerous compared to the marriage stats. I mean, like, Knowles is just, he's bordering on illiteracy here. Like, he can't do basic math. He's pretending all stats are fake. He doesn't know the definition of sexism or the average man or anything, really. Like, how can Knowles ever come back from this interview?
People that succeed.
But then even further, to use your airplane analogy, I guess the difference is getting on an airplane and going to Hawaii would be a nice thing to do, and I might like to do it sometime. Getting married and having children is not merely a nice thing to do that I might, in my subjective preferences, like to engage in, but it is an aspect of my nature. It is an aspect of my purpose to which I am aimed. That's the difference. That's why
You know what's really crazy about this whole thing, too? Like, if Knowles was just adhere to the Bible and say, okay, yes, you know, many women are these woke, liberal, regressive goofs, degenerates. You can't marry them. You have to really work hard and find the ones you can because it's worth it. I mean, that's a legitimate stance. Like, why couldn't he just say that? I mean, he's saying if he says marriage is so valuable, you need to do everything you possibly can. Go to these other countries, you know, do whatever you can because it's worth it. But it's like he can't even cede a single point in terms of the degeneracy of a large percentage of Western women. Like, it's kind of crazy, because he could still have the same position and he would get his point across a lot better. But I mean, I don't know, like, what is it, if he's just a vegetable and he's that triggered on this topic, like, why is he pretending that there's parity? It's weird. Then again, parity and parody sound the same.
Do you think men's masculinity comes from marriage?
I think men's masculinity and virility comes from their nature as men.
Do you think, but you don't think it comes from marriage?
I think that marriage fulfills.
He asked a very, very basic, she asked a very basic yes or no question. He did the classic woke goof dodge.
The man's purpose, and in as much as he is more a man, the more he fulfills his purpose.
Do you think marriage is a man's purpose?
I think that, man's ultimate purpose is to know God and to serve him in this world and enjoy him forever in eternity.
Okay. But wouldn't be
But
marriage?
subsidiary aspects of that would be, for lay people, for instance, to get married, which is a symbol of Christ's love for his church, and to But even,
Right,
taking
but
religion
I'm
aside for
asking,
a
like,
second.
can I get a yes or no? Do you think
Well, I'm
it's a
trying to
man's...
explain
Okay,
to
go
you
ahead, go ahead.
the answer to the question
Okay.
you're asking.
Mhm,
But if you say, what's a man's purpose? And my purpose in this conversation
mhm.
is to talk to you.
Okay.
That's one purpose.
Mhm.
So that would be, is the purpose to talk, yes or no? But he can't answer yes or no on any other question. Like, the level of, I'm going to have to go soon. Like, I can't handle this much goofery. We'll go another minute or two, and then we're going to have to go part 3 on this, because I didn't think the train wreck could get this much worse, but it did.
A purpose is also to get to the nature of this question of marriage.
Okay.
Another purpose is to communicate that to the audience. So there are all sorts of purposes that we have. We have higher purposes and lower purposes. And so when you ask, is marriage part of a man's purpose? I say it is. It's not man's ultimate purpose,
Okay.
but it is a symbol of his ultimate purpose, and it is a constituent part.
Notice how he could have just said, yes, it is. It might not be the highest, but it is. But instead, he just spun his wheels for those couple minutes looking like a goof.
Of his purpose, and a natural end of his very nature.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the reason I say that you are adopting
Mhm.
what seems to me a liberal and individualist anthropology here is because you are saying every man needs to make his own decision. Nothing's better or worse. I'm not recommending anything. I'm just, you do
Do you think
you.
every man should make the same decision?
In many matters, yes. Not between chocolate and vanilla ice cream, but between
Do you
moral
feel like you should
goods,
tell
yes.
men what to do?
In as much as I correctly perceive the
Okay.
moral order, yes.
Okay. So you think that you know what's right for every man?
I think that I can. I have a
So, like,
relatively
Joe...
reliable. If
Okay.
you'd like me
Sorry,
to answer,
go ahead, go ahead.
I think I have a relatively reliable faculty of reason and moral.
Except in this topic. I didn't mean to pause it right there, but this is perfectly reflective of his lack of logic and reason in this particular topic. Once again, if he was actually the Christian he claims to be, if he actually followed the Bible, of which I've cited many passages here throughout this analysis, he would clearly state it is very difficult to find a good marriageable woman, and always was. But it's worth it. So obviously the majority of women would not qualify for what the Bible deems is a good marriage, obviously. And he could preach how worth it is to find that rare woman and get married to her. But instead, he's just spewing this goofery, promoting going to the casino, promoting increasing risk of suicide for men. I mean, it just the level of goofery here, bootlicking authorities in violation of the Bible. I mean, this is insane.
Conscience. And so in as much as it is reliable, I can articulate the truth as I see it, which is all anyone does. It's what you're doing. It's what all people do when we speak.
He is not saying the truth as he sees it. This is as bad faith as you can get.
Yeah, I don't think it's really our job as commentators to tell people what to do.
But it's our job as human beings to perceive the moral order.
Okay.
Right? And to
Yeah.
form judgments about that.
Well, I disagree when you say it's the equivalent of feminism, because right
I'm
now,
saying
right?
it's the equivalent of
Right.
what you're articulating is a
Okay.
liberal and individualist view. And therefore it's similar.
Not really. It's more for justice and truth. Because if the man really wants the family for the good of society, for the good of his whole family, and he's being put in a position where he can't support the family, that's not his individual selfish position. So Knowles is just reaching new lows in strawmanning here, possibly intentionally not even understanding the argument, or pretending not to in all of his bad faith.
To feminism.
I would say that right now marriage is a feminist institution.
Not mine.
Right?
Not the jackpot winner at the casino, or the Russian roulette winner. He didn't die. Wasn't risky enough for him. He survived. Everybody should play.
Well, if your wife decides tomorrow she wants to leave you, it will be.
Oh, man. Wow, we're going to finish on that decimation. Wow, shots fired by Pearl. I mean, we'll have to wait till next time. Actually, you know what? I do want to hear his response. Let's finish with his response. But that was great from Pearl. Let's see how much sputtering he does to try to dodge that.
The divorce laws are informed by feminism.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And so
But marriage is
regardless,
marriage is a natural institution that predates the states that currently.
Right, but there is.
Okay, so he completely dodged that. He completely dodged that. But man, we're going to end it there. I need some serious recovery time from this one. I'm not sure if we're going to finish this one tomorrow. But, yeah, I mean, wow. Wow. I mean, okay, hold on a second. In other news, the conspiracy song stream that got shut down, that is back up, at least temporarily. So you can actually, the stream that got shut down, the Red Hot Chili Peppers Californication stream, that's back up right now. So you can watch that. I appealed the violation, but it's still under review, which is weird. But yeah, so we still have to do part 2 on that one, and then we have to do part 3 on this one, and then we do have another Q&A coming, which the game movie with Michael Douglas was the homework on that one. And then obviously we do have another Logic Olympics round coming up. So hopefully everybody will be ready for that one. But that'll be it for now here. And yeah, we'll be getting to recovery from this complete train wreck. But Michael Knowles has been able to drop the floor out on his own goofery in both these parts. So we'll see if he continues doing that. He continues humiliating himself to a greater degree as this interview goes on. Hope everybody enjoyed another edition of the MindShock podcast in this logical analysis. You want to help support the podcast, you can donate to our PayPal. You can become a YouTube member right here on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share. Facebook, Reddit, Twitter, Patreon. Questions, comments, theories, thoughts, suggestions, rebuttals, debunkings of any kind, leave them in the comments section. This is Bruce McGuire signing off. Catch you guys next time.